Eamon Khan here for Seconds Out. It's a pleasure to be joined by British boxing legend Michael Watson MBE. Michael, great to see you. How you doing?
Absolutely fantastic, Eamon. I'm just rearing to go.
Raring to go indeed. You've got the
Just like the good old days when I'm building up to my fight. I'm bubbling with enthusiasm.
you definitely look it, and you've got a big task in hand, but I'm sure you're ready to meet the task next week. A miracle mile that you're walking next week. How you feeling for it?
The naming on the Miracle Mine, that's who I am, inspired me to the maximum.
hmm
You know, I'm the people champion, and I'm there to inspire everyone inside. I can't wait to get going. I
What
really,
training and preparation have you been doing for the miracle mile?
I've been doing a lot of walking.
hmm
I'm bubbling with fitness.
Your friend Peter once said of you when you did the marathon in 2003 that only you could have done that because of the determination level that you have. That brought you through it. That got you through all the training. That got you through the finishing line. Do you feel you have a level of determination that others don't?
It's just my element. I've got a lot of things that fighters haven't got, and that's true self belief
Hmm.
and determination.
So you're walking the Miracle Mile to help raise funds for charity. What what do you want from the people to see from this walk? What do you want them to do after they've seen your feat next week?
Basically, Eamon, this is for the helpless souls in need, those that's disabled, that's given up hope in life, and even though they're suffering with mental problems in their lives. What I've been through, if I can do it, so can they. I've been through hell and back. I'm
Mhm.
a miracle within itself. I just recently, I've just been carjacked.
Say again, you've been carjacked.
Yeah, I've been carjacked. I was dragged down the road for 500 meters. I'm a miracle within itself. If my boxing accident wasn't enough, well, I happened to car. I've been carjacked.
But when was this?
2017.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I remember the story when it came out. I remember a lot of the boxing public were very much up in arms as to what happened during that carjacking. Um, Michael, I wanted to ask you, your friend Peter Hamlin is also, I believe, joining you on the Miracle Walk. You and Peter have stayed in touch over many years. What has Peter done for you?
This, this is the man that saved my life. I've had seven brain operations. He's truly my hero.
Mhm.
And we're great friends. We are like family. I love him like a brother.
I saw that Chris Eubank came to visit you and Chris gifted you a Rolex. What was that moment like?
You know, I really wasn't surprised because he's shown me a lot of love and concern throughout this incident. You know, and he's very caring. I tap my hat off to him.
What did
He's a,
you say again, sir?
he's a gentleman. I like it. I like the way he is. I love the way he is. No matter of fact.
A true gentleman like yourself as well, too. What were you two saying to each other? What was the conversation like between you two?
He keeps on. He said he feels very sad to see what's happening throughout this event. I keep telling him he's not fault. He feels guilty of what's happened after Chris. It was just an accident.
hmm
That's all it was. It
hmm
could have happened to anyone.
hmm Recently, boxers and the boxing kind of journalists have been having some discussion surrounding support for boxers who need support. Do you feel that you have been given the level of support that you've needed after your injury?
You know what, Eamon? I'm sure I'm blessed. The support I got from people from in general, I'm proud to be the love and concern they shown me have been amazing. Makes me proud and feel proud to be a part of this country.
Mhm. I saw that online you mentioned that because you're from the UK, Britain, if maybe it was from somewhere else, you might not have received the love that you'd received, but you've been truly cherished as the people's champion, and that has come from a lot of the British and English spirit, right?
That makes me feel good. Really does.
Hmm. Have you got a time in mind as to how long you want to complete the Miracle Mile next week?
I'll just go with the flow.
Hmm.
Just take everything one step at a time.
Mhm. And are you watching much boxing these days, Michael? Are you keeping in touch with the sport?
Boxing on stage is not the same of the old school. Too much money involved into these athletes.
Hmm.
There's no hunger like in my days. How you gonna have three world champions all that same way?
Hmm.
You can only have one champion, one world champion. It's all about money making.
So you would advocate for one champion per division?
That's right. Yes, I certainly do.
Mhm. There's a huge fight coming up, and it's concerning both the sons of Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn, that being Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. Have you kept in touch with that fight?
I actually do love both boys. I actually do love my both warriors who are fought in the ring. They're both talented individuals. It should be a great fight.
Do you have a prediction for the fight, Michael? Can I push you for one?
I wish the pair of them all the best.
I thought you might. I thought you might say that. However, though, there was a moment where Eubank Jr. did strike Conor Benn with an egg. Did you see that?
Yes, I saw that. That's very unprofessional. That been very disgraceful.
Hmm.
Oh, there's two great fighters, and it should be a very entertaining fight. Don't
Is
miss
that
it.
is that part of the money making side of things that they have to make a scene there to sell the fight these days?
It's all bums on seats.
Hmm.
It's all that's business. It's all that's gone way beyond borders. It's better. Boxing don't need things like that to happen.
Mhm. What would you, in amongst your friendship with Peter and the work that you've done to raise awareness and raise money for neurological sciences, what would you say that boxing needs to do more of to help people like yourself?
Show more deep love and concern
Hmm.
for we need. As John Lennon said, all we need is love.
Mhm.
That's all we need. And
I'm glad you mentioned John Lennon and the thought of music. Will you be, have you got a playlist ready for your Miracle Mile next week?
no, just go with the flow.
Do you do a bit of singing as well? That was pretty good.
Just go with the flow.
Brilliant. Peter, so I wanted to ask you, look, of course, first of all, you and Michael have struck up a relationship that has stemmed from the origination of you helping him with his recovery. Can you talk me through that relationship and the strength that you've gained through that first initial meeting?
Well, I first met Michael in the early hours of the morning after his injury in 1991, when he came out of the back of the ambulance into my neuro unit at Barts Hospital. He was in hospital for some 8 months. He had a series of 7 operations. The first was the emergency removal of the blood clots, then other procedures to try and resolve the brain swelling, and then other complications that occur after that kind of head injury. And then he spent months in rehabilitation. And those early months where he was in coma, the only thing I knew of Michael was really what his mum told me. And his mum, Joan, was a very, very special lady, who never lost her faith that Michael was going to recover, though he was really on the edge of life for a very, very long time. And if you imagine that it was in 2003 that he did the marathon, that's 12 years later. Mm-hmm. The journey I saw him go through from complete disability, unable to move, control anything, speak, to guy who managed to walk the whole London Marathon over 6 days, was an incredible journey of bravery, commitment, and just an indomitable will. The like of which I've never seen. Now, I've spent decades as a neurosurgeon, and he is a complete standout figure in that time as to what he managed to overcome. And then the guy that reappeared, this amazingly cheerful, positive man who says he is here to help others less fortunate than himself. And I've just seen him do that day after day. And I might have done some things for him physically, but what he's done for me emotionally as a person is equally profound. This is an extraordinary guy to know, and it is my fantastic pleasure to be a friend of his now.
Yeah, next week.
And yourself, Peter.
Next week, you're walking the Miracle Mile in efforts to raise awareness and money for the Brain and Spine Foundation, looking to help and support every one of those living with over 600 neurological conditions in the UK, affecting 1 in 6 people, I believe, as is the statistic. Look, could you inform me of the latest research that you've conducted in terms of neurological sciences, and maybe what the impact they are on the boxing world, please, Peter?
So the neurological disorders are our biggest medical burden. They kill more people than cancer and heart disease put together. And they affect every single age group. And they're a big problem in sport, not just boxing, but in all sports, where we've become increasingly aware over my career of the impact, not just of major head injuries like Michael has suffered and like you see in equestrian sports and in motorsports. But then the more minor collisions and concussion type injuries that we see in many, many other sports, and how badly they can affect people if they're exposed to a lot of them. What's really exciting now, and why Michael and I have really come together again to try and push this, is the opportunities that AI offers all patients with neurological disorders. It's an absolute game changer in terms of what we're able to do. We've got, for example, some really powerful treatments for dementia, but we apply them when the patient becomes symptomatic, which is the equivalent of plugging the leak in the petrol tank of a car when it's stopped. It gets you something, but not much. If you could diagnose that 7 years, 10 years, 5 years earlier, they'd be able to continue and plug the leak with the same drug you've got today. They'd be able to continue their life's journey as per normal. And the amazing thing is that AI allows you to do that. We can just take your mobile phone data, analyze your eye movements, your speech patterns, your vocabulary, sound of your voice, the way you press the buttons, the number of calls you make, the length of those calls, how much of it you're contributing, etc. And we can tell you about 5 to 7 years ahead of time that you're developing one of many of the neurological degenerative disorders, dementias, Parkinson's, those kind of things. A complete game changer, not possible before. Another incredible example is something I saw in Paris on one of our iNeuro research meetings, was a group who are recording brainwaves and using megacomputers to analyze this otherwise random noise that we've been able to record for years. And they can, people can get trained to move artificial limbs. So if they're missing a right arm, they can move an automated arm to pour a cup of tea just by thinking. Mm-hmm. And the machine can analyze their thoughts and do what they want to have done. And another group has incredibly managed to do that for speech. So people who've lost their speech from a stroke are now, because the thought area is still working, it's just the bit of the brain that controls the voice box, they're now able to think their words into a voice box, which is unimaginable. So we can really change the world with what we've christened iNeuro. I for AI, the individual information, and iNeuro, which is the campaign we're pushing, is really able to revolutionize neurological disorders, not just here in the UK, but everywhere globally.
I have a couple of questions in respect to some of the discussion within the boxing world in the past few months. First of all, the dangers or cautions of boxing if you have a pre-existing mental health condition. Could you shed any light on what that could mean for someone who was to continue boxing if they have a pre-existing mental health condition?
There's an interface between the mental health conditions, psychiatric disorders, and neurological disorders. Some are clearly profoundly neurological. So the schizophrenias and those serious mental health disorders are neurological. We think some of the Tourette type symptoms are very much neurological disorders. Others are more at the edge of what you might call psychology, and depression is one of those that straddles that area. Some are very physical, some are more psychosocial. So is it clever to go boxing when you've got a neurological condition or something in the psychological spectrum? Well, I think that's a really an individual and an individual's decision, and they need the right medical advice. My only opinion I'd give is that you need someone who has an interest in sport and understands sport to give guidance to that. And we've got those doctors now. So we've got specialist sports physicians who, when I met Michael, they didn't exist in the UK. They came in with the London Games, but they're now around and available. So there is expertise to guide people. And as I say, my only suggestion to an individual who's in that position is to get expert advice from the right expert.
The other question I had was the effects of draining your weight in boxing. What effect does that have on the brain in terms of the ability to take punches and your endurance during a fight? A lot of times, more so in the UFC, we see a lot of fighters approach scales and they're I guess not in the best physical states. It's less so in boxing, but still the issue is that you boil down to a weight below what you would walk around naturally outside of a camp, and that is going to be featured in a high-profile fight coming soon.
You know, all fights are not the same, but by no means do all boxers get the kind of catastrophic event that Michael had. He was actually the third boxer I'd treated by the time I saw him, and we've seen others since. If you look at the factors that are associated with it, there are quite a number, of which the trying to make a weight is one. But if I could just put it in the context of the others. What we saw when looking at these injury statistics was that the sorts of blood clot major injuries that Michael got were very stereotyped in boxing. They all get the same. If they get a serious problem, it's always like Michael's. There's nearly always a gap, so they're awake at the end of the fight. Michael was standing up protesting he wanted to continue. And if you get there quickly, you can make a massive difference. So Rod Douglas had the same blood clot. He was fighting at the Wembley Arena a couple of years before Michael, and he walked out of hospital after the same operation a couple of weeks later because he got to us very quickly. Michael's journey took a long time. So the first thing to say is if you're trying to prevent damage, have everything lined up to look after a boxer if they get into trouble. That's number one. Number two, the number of injuries that occur in championship fights is way higher than non-championship fights. Why? Because they're allowed to continue for longer, because it's important that they work it out. Well, referees now step in earlier, and that has made brought a massive reduction in the number that get hit, because a tired boxer can still throw a massive punch, but they can't protect themselves. They don't have the neck rigidity to stop their brain being shaken. And that's what tears things. That's what generates the bleeding. So the referee is the next big thing. Step in when the person is vulnerable before they get injured. There are other things, like if you make the weight divisions much bigger, then people have to either go down a long way or up a long way, neither of which is good for them. So you want to keep the weight divisions quite small. It looks like it's crazy and it's just generating boxing matches, but actually that's in their best interest. And I think movements to try and make those broader would be bad. And then mismatches, late replacements. They featured very heavily in the people who got injured badly because they, again, they're just really not able to defend themselves. Throwing punches, I think, is probably the least skillful thing Michael could do, though he was very good at it. It was avoiding them that was the most important thing. You look at a fighter like Harold Graham, that was what he was famous for. And sorry, that's the alarm to come and join the Zoom.
Sorry.
So those things are all important. And moving the weigh-in away from the fight. So, you absolutely don't want to do that on the day of the fight. I absolutely accept that means their weight may not be reflective of what they get, where they can be. But the further away from the fight it is, the less hazardous is going to be the inevitable rush to get that weight to the right level.
Last thing I want to ask from yourself, and I did ask this to Michael as well too, is have you seen enough support? And I will caveat this in saying that in call for support, like you have done, I saw Frank Warren did make a sizable donation to your causes, but have you seen enough support throughout the years from boxing specifically in helping boxers post and with leading neurological science research?
I work in not just the sporting world, but I work across the sporting world when I'm in that. So everything from cricket to football to rugby, NFL when they first started coming back here. The one thing that strikes you when you get involved with the boxing community is just how cohesive it is, just how solidly they are behind the individuals who get harmed. Again, I find it a very inspiring group to get involved with. They're been incredibly supportive of my work, very receptive to the medical guidance they needed, and things have changed a lot. So, in the early 90s, when I first met Michael, most of the medical profession were just calling for things to get banned if they're dangerous. That is such a negative approach. It was the approach that they took to motorsports when in the 70s and 80s, when Formula One was killing people most weekends. And yet now, because of the brilliant work of a fellow called Professor Sid Watkins and the determination of that sport, you've got Formula One with more races, racing more miles at higher speeds, with more accidents, but virtually no serious injuries. You can never make it completely safe. And they did that by being way more intelligent than just calling for it to be bad. The cars are faster. And it's the way they've been designed, the way the tracks have been designed. And that has translated into a huge improvement in road safety that you and I benefit from. So the monocoque design of those cars, the crumple of the cars, the seatbelt designs, all of those things can be traced back to developments that came out from that sport, and you now see rolled out into general life. And sport provides an extreme environment where we as medics can develop things that are of benefit to many. So I think it's beholden upon us as a medical profession to try and eliminate the unnecessary risks. And there were many that boxers were taking when Michael was in the ring, and they now take fewer. You can never eliminate it. You can never eliminate them from life. Life is fatal every single time. And we all do things that are dangerous. Road traffic accidents kill hundreds, thousands, more than world wars. But we all go driving. So it's how do you eliminate the worst risks and the unnecessary risks whilst preserving the life these guys want to pursue? It's not my job to tell them what life they want to pursue. That's there is a moral and ethical, a societal issue around paying people to fight one another, but that's not a medical issue. My role in this has got to be to deliver the right medicine.
Peter, truly enlightening conversation. Much appreciate both yourself and Michael's time. Before I close out with just a closing statement from Michael to the fans, I just want to point people to the link in the description to the Brain and Spine Foundation's charitable cause. If people who'd like to listen to this, who have been listening to this interview, would like to donate, the link is in the description below. Michael, I'll just leave the final word with yourself. What would you like to say to people who are going to be watching this and want to support you in your journey?
To my fans and friends, please donate as much money to the iNeuro as possible.